Today's a Ask Dr. B session.
Yeah, so as you know, we're on the SCD diet, which is no
Hmm.
dairy at all. And I am going through menopause. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm in menopause now or close. And so I'm concerned about bone density. And then Oscar is, 13 and Eloise is 18. So I was wondering, do you have a calcium pill? That's one thing. Um, and then also, um, magnesium because I had some constipation and I thought, well, I might try a magnesium supplement because nothing else seemed to be working, except I do think it's coffee. Every time I have coffee, I have issues.
Okay.
So those were kind of some of my big things. And then just on a personal note, but maybe it might help some other people, is I've started bioidentical hormone replacement therapy with some estradiol patches and some
Mhm.
progesterone pills. Like when I say I just started like 4 days ago, 3 or 4 days ago. So I will keep you updated on how all that goes.
All right. Yeah. That's a whole rabbit hole by itself. So we'll
Yes, it
focus
is.
on this. We'll start with this, the SCD diet and bone density. And we could go perimenopause and teens. So if we start with the question of I'm perimenopausal and on an SCD diet, do I need to supplement with calcium? I would point you to previous videos we've done on osteopenia and osteoporosis, because postmenopausally, osteoporosis is not a calcium magnesium issue primarily, it's an inflammation issue. And again, in previous videos, I've covered this, but essentially, if we're talking about bone production, we have bone builders are called osteoblasts. The cells that build bone are called osteoblasts, so B for build. And then bone breakdown, those cells are called so osteo for bone, and then clasts with a C. And I don't have a nifty way to remember that one for you. But what's important is that we're talking about bone. And so if we're talking about bone or we talk about different tissue like liver or kidneys or gut or brain, each different tissue or organ has an organ specific or tissue specific macrophage. And macrophages are immune cells. And macrophage is Latin for big eater, basically. Okay, so from a bone perspective, osteoclasts, you could see the C in class and the C in macrophage. Osteoclasts are the bone specific macrophages. And as we age, we get an imbalance. We have more clasts. So osteoclasts are greater than osteoblasts as we age. So as we age, there's a natural reduction in bone builders and a relative increase in bone breaker downers. Okay. And so inflammation makes this imbalance worse. So it'll drive this seesaw even more imbalanced. So what you want to do is not swallow more calcium pills necessarily as you're, peri postmenopausal. What you want to do is address inflammation. And other videos we've talked about, there's physiologic inflammation. And as we age, that physiologic inflammation is called inflammaging. So it's the inflammation associated with aging, and it's just going to happen as we age. We become more inflamed. That's the physiologic part. But then there's the supra physiologic inflammation, or we could just say the extra, the stuff that we don't need to be happening, and that's lifestyle related. Okay, so you take the inflammaging and then you add poor diet or a sedentary lifestyle or poor sleep or more stress or toxic exposure or a combination of all those things. Well, then you've got the inflammaging and the extra. And so what we can change is the extra. We can't change the inflammaging so much. So the extra is going to exacerbate the osteoclast in the bone breakdown. So we want to minimize that by doing all the lifestyle things we can do to optimize inflammatory status. Does that make sense from a uh, from the peri to postmenopause side of things?
Yeah, that does. That's interesting to know. Thanks.
Okay.
I'll look up these videos too.
Yep, cool. And we'll link them to this video once we've got it up as well. And then from the teen perspective, if we change our color here, from a teen perspective, and don't get me wrong, there are people who you can be deficient in calcium or magnesium, perimenopausally or postmenopausally. So obviously, if there is a calcium or magnesium deficiency, then we need to replete that through diet and through supplementation where appropriate. But in our society, the default is for women to hear osteoporosis, osteopenia, and then say, I need a calcium supplement. And that's not true. Okay. So yes, part of the due diligence, if we've got a peri or postmenopausal woman who's osteopenic or osteoporotic, we should check their calcium levels and their magnesium levels and their vitamin D and their parathyroid hormone and all that. But assuming the calcium physiology is good, taking more calcium isn't the answer. It's addressing the inflammation. Now in teens, teens are little aliens growing up into adult aliens. So they can have a greater need for calcium and magnesium as they age because they're having bone growth, right? And so we definitely want teens to have sufficient calcium levels, just like all age groups, we want them to have sufficient calcium levels. But again, the dairy lobby or the dairy industry has done a good job, and milk and cheese and things can supply calcium, but great calcium sources, there are many great calcium sources that are SCD approved, and those are called vegetables. And so you need to eat plenty of fruits and vegetables that are, if you're on an SCD diet, that are SCD allowed. And there's plenty of options there for you. And no human should have a problem getting their calcium from whole food sources like fruits and veggies, because before animal husbandry and we settled down for farms, as hunter gatherers, we weren't drinking milk or eating cheese. We were hunting and gathering, right? So we were eating meats and getting calcium from meat and calcium from connective tissue. So like people on the carnivore diet won't be deficient in calcium. Uh, they were foraging, and so when they were getting berries and tubers and different things from the ground, those were loaded with calcium as well. So make sure they're eating enough, you know, fruit and veggies that are allowable on their specific diet, and they should be good to go there.
Okay, great.
From a magnesium standpoint, another great source of magnesium is your green leafies. So if you're constipated, yes, magnesium can be a great source, a great laxative, have a laxative effect for you. Magnesium citrate is probably the best one to try first for constipation, because there's multiple forms of magnesium, but magnesium citrate is probably the best for constipation to try first. If you notice, like you mentioned, that drinking coffee equals constipation, then don't do that. It hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that, right? So let's get out of our own way if we notice we're doing that. But yeah, green leafies for magnesium, and then if you're going to supplement with the goal of reducing constipation, the citrate form is a good one. If that's not helping, you could try magnesium oxide, which isn't a high quality form, but that's partially why you want to use it if you're constipated, because it might, a high dose of that might clear you out. And there's multiple other forms that are useful for other things such as tight muscles or sleep issues that we've covered in other videos.
Okay,
So
thank
anything
you.
else on? You're welcome. Anything
Nope.
else on this
Nope. That's great. Thanks.
I have a comment. Wouldn't vitamin D help a lot?
for bones? Well, yeah,
Yes.
for all of the above. So let's change colors here. Let's use yellow for D, right? Vitamin D in the sun. Okay, so vitamin D and calcium are working to regulate your calcium status along with phosphate levels and parathyroid hormone. So and the kidneys are part of that too. So yes, D is very important in calcium absorption and regulation. You also need magnesium to absorb D properly. And then D helps with magnesium status as it relates to the bone story as well. So yeah, this is why, we can supplement all these things, but a whole, a diet that is healthy and providing whole food sources of these things is very important too, because that's how historically we would get it. So eating as cleanly as we can and supplementing when necessary, if testing is showing we need more than we can get from the diet, is going to be the best ways to do it.